I'm Nora. I'm 34 years old. And I just found out that the two men I trusted most, my brother and my husband, had been scheming behind my back, scheming to steal what my late mother left for me, what was supposed to be my safety net, my inheritance. Gone. Before I continue, let me know in the comments what part of the world you're watching from. Also subscribe, because another story drops tomorrow. I grew up the only daughter in a family of 4. My brother Leon was older by 3 years. And for most of my life, people assumed he was the responsible one, the heir, the leader. But I knew the truth. Leon was a charmer and a manipulator. He had a way of smiling while setting fires behind your back. Still, Mom always made excuses. He just needs direction, she'd say. You're the strong one, Nora. He needs your support. So I supported him, even when he dropped out of college, even when he borrowed thousands and never paid it back, even when I married Evan, my college sweetheart, and Leon told him at our wedding, "Congrats, man. You married the family's moneymaker." I laughed it off then. I shouldn't have. My mother, June, passed away 6 months ago. She'd battled ovarian cancer quietly for years, only told us when it was already stage 4. Even on her deathbed, she was more worried about us than herself. "Nora," she whispered one night, her hand cold but firm in mine, "I've made arrangements for you." I didn't fully understand what she meant at the time. But after she passed, her lawyer revealed she had left me a sizable sum, $180,000. It was from a property sale she'd kept hidden from my father and Leon. "Nora's the only one who won't waste it," she'd written in her will. It was meant to help me start the bakery I'd always dreamed of. A quiet little corner cafe where I could finally work for myself. Build something of my own. When the funds were released into my private trust account, I cried. Not because of the money, but because Mom had believed in me so deeply, and she'd protected me in her final days. What I didn't know, what I couldn't have imagined, was that someone else had been watching that money, waiting for the right moment to strike. That someone was Leon. It started with a family dinner. Just me, Leon, Evan, and my dad. A casual get-together at my father's house, nothing fancy. Leon poured wine like he owned the place. Made jokes at Evan's expense. Evan laughed along, but I noticed his smiles were tighter than usual. Forced. Like he was in on something he didn't want me to know. Later that night, I noticed a notification on my phone. A large withdrawal. $120,000. Gone from the trust account. At first I thought it was a glitch. I refreshed. Again, still gone. My hands started to shake. I logged into the online dashboard and reviewed the details. It had been transferred. Not to Leon, not to any name I recognized, but to a joint business account with my husband's name on it. Evan. Evan. And another name. Leon. I stared at the screen like it was in another language. What business account? Less. What joint anything? Hefo. Less. Why was my husband's name next to my brother's Wasat? He booked our Echan. I called the bank immediately. Explained the account should only have been accessible by me. They informed me, calmly, that the request had come with a signed document. A wire authorization with my forged signature. I froze. A chill crawled down my spine. I asked them to email the authorization form. They did. And there it was. My name, my signature. Except it wasn't my signature. It was a perfect imitation. I felt like I couldn't breathe. I waited until Evan got home that night. Tried to stay calm. I asked him outright, "What is this account with Leon's name on it?" His face changed instantly. Color drained. He didn't even try to lie. "Nora, listen," he started. "It's not what you think. That line. That ridiculous, useless line." "Then explain," I said, trying to keep my voice even. "We were going to surprise you," he said. "The bakery. You always said you wanted one." Leon found a space. "We thought if we acted quickly." I held up my hand. "No. Stop." I showed him the transfer, the signature. "The bank thinks I approved this. You forged my signature." He didn't deny it, just sat down on the edge of the couch, running his hands through his hair. "I thought you'd be happy," he mumbled. I laughed, actually laughed. It came out bitter and sharp. "You thought I'd be happy that my husband and my brother stole from me?" He looked up. Something shifted in his eyes, like he was done pretending. "It's not stealing," he said. "It's family." That word. Family. Always used like a rope around my neck, tightened whenever I tried to pull away. I didn't sleep that night. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, while Evan tossed beside me. I thought about my mother, about how hard she must have worked to keep that money safe, about how quickly they'd found a way to undo her final gift to me. I made up my mind before the sun rose. I got dressed, made coffee, and sat at the dining table with my laptop. First, I contacted the bank's fraud department, told them I did not authorize the transfer. They opened a formal investigation. Next, I filed a police report: wire fraud, forgery, misuse of funds. Then I called a lawyer, a woman named Nia Reynolds. She listened patiently as I explained everything. "They'll say it's a family matter," I warned. "They'll try to make it go away." "Then we won't let them," she said. Her voice was calm, sharp, reassuring. I felt something I hadn't felt in days: power. That evening, I confronted Leon. I didn't call, I showed up. At his apartment. He opened the door with a smug smile. "Well, look who." I slapped the police report against his chest and walked away. He shouted after me, but I didn't turn back. I had more work to do, and a court date to prepare for. The next morning, Evan was gone. Not just from the bedroom. His clothes were missing too. Drawers open, hangers empty. No note, no explanation. I stood in the doorway, arms folded, eyes dry. He ran. Good. That meant he was scared. It also meant I was right to trust my instincts. He'd taken the easy way out. But I wasn't done. Not even close. I drove to my father's house, pulled into the driveway like I used to after school. Only this time, I didn't bring groceries or smiles, just truth. Dad answered the door in his usual polo and slippers. He looked surprised to see me. "Nora," he said, "everything all right?" "No," I answered flatly. "It's about Leon and Evan." He stepped aside. Let me in. Same living room, same scent of old leather and lemon cleaner. But the air felt heavier. "What happened?" he asked, taking a seat. So I told him. Not every detail, but enough. About the $180,000. The forged signature. The stolen transfer. The fake bakery lie. Dad didn't interrupt. But I watched his expression shift from confusion to discomfort, to something like guilt. When I was done, he cleared his throat. "Well, Leon mentioned something about an investment. Said he was partnering with Evan on a project for you. Said you'd be thrilled once it all came together." "And you believed him?" I asked. He didn't answer. Didn't have to. "Nora," he said after a long silence, "I don't want to get in the middle of this." "You're already in it," I replied. "You raised us. You know what he's like." He shook his head. "Leon's had his struggles. But this, if it's true, that's serious." "It is true," I stood. "I'm taking it to court. I just thought you deserved to know before it gets public." Dad rubbed his temples. "Your mother wouldn't want this, Nora." That sentence sliced deeper than any blade. I turned to face him squarely. She wanted me to have a future, a business. She trusted me with that money because she knew what Leon was capable of. He didn't respond. I walked out without saying goodbye. Some doors don't need to be slammed to be closed. Back home, my lawyer Nia called. She'd reviewed the bank evidence and found more than we expected. "Nora," she said, her voice crisp, "there's a second transfer pending. $40,000 set to move from Evan's business account to a shell company." "What?" I nearly dropped the phone. "Another transfer?" "Yes." It appears Leon registered a company 2 weeks ago. No website, no business address, just a P.O. box. Can we stop it? I asked. Yes, but we need a temporary restraining order. Emergency motion? I'm filing it now. In less than 2 hours, the motion was granted. The bank was served. The funds frozen. Leon was going to be furious. Good. The next day, a detective called. He'd received the report and wanted an in-person interview. I met him at the station, brought every document, printed everything twice. I wasn't going to let a technicality kill this case. Detective Morales was sharp, mid-40s. Sharp eyes. No nonsense demeanor. He looked over the signatures, asked about Evan and Leon's relationship, then about mine with them. Married 6 years. No kids. No joint businesses. That helps, he said. Means he didn't have legal access. This will go under financial fraud. Likely felony charges. I exhaled, not out of relief. Out of exhaustion. It was only just beginning. Later that evening, my phone buzzed. Blocked number. I let it go to voicemail. But I listened right after. It was Leon. Nora. What the hell are you doing? Freezing my money? Are you insane? You're ruining your own family. All over a little mix-up? He laughed bitterly. I swear to God, you're just like Mom. Always had to be the smart one. Always had to keep score. Well, guess what? You just made yourself a target. I saved the voicemail. Sent it straight to Naya. She added it to the evidence file. The next day, a formal subpoena was issued. Leon was being called to provide records of his company. Evan, too. They had 14 days. I knew they wouldn't comply, not willingly. But the clock had started, and the game had changed. In the meantime, the court granted me a civil injunction. Leon and Evan were now legally forbidden to touch any funds related to me or my trust. Violation would mean contempt. That same week, Evan tried to reach out. This time through his sister. Claire showed up at my bakery concept event. It was just a small venue showcase. Mock logos, sample pastries, vision boards. But seeing her there made my stomach twist. I'm not here to cause trouble, she said. I didn't know Evan could do this. He said you were blowing things out of proportion, that it was all a misunderstanding. I looked her in the eye. Does forging a signature sound like a misunderstanding to you? She looked away. No, it doesn't. Claire left a manila envelope before walking off. Inside, printed emails between Leon and Evan. Subject lines like, she'll never know, and just make it look like a business move. I stood there, in my own dream in progress, holding proof. Proof they planned it. Proof they thought I was a fool. Proof they underestimated me. That was their biggest mistake. Because I don't lose quietly, and I never forget who tried to bury me. The emails Claire gave me changed everything. No more speculation. No more hoping the law would take my word for it. Now I had undeniable proof of intent. Of premeditated theft. Of betrayal written out line by line. I stayed up all night reading every word. They joked about me. Mocked my sentimental attachment to my mother's money. Called it a guilt fund. Evan wrote, she won't ask questions. Nora never wants to rock the boat. Leon replied, that's why this works. She's passive. Just say it's for her dream. I wasn't passive. I was patient. But patience has a limit. The next morning, I forwarded every email to Naya. She called me within minutes. This is gold, she said. Leon and Evan just moved from shady to prosecutable. By noon, she'd amended the court filings. The civil case was officially upgraded to include conspiracy to commit fraud. My brother and husband were now legally bound together, not just in crime, but in the courtroom. 2 days later, I received a call from Evan. Not a blocked number this time. His name lit up the screen. I let it ring, twice, then answered. Nora. Don't speak, I said. My voice was steady, sharp. Anything you say is being recorded and may be submitted in court. He was silent for a beat. Then, I never wanted this to happen. You did want the money, though, I replied. And you wanted me to stay quiet while you and Leon played business mogul with my future. It was Leon's idea, he said quickly. He pressured me, and you went along with it. There was a pause. Then he whispered, I still love you. That line used to melt me. Now it made me sick. Then you should have protected me, I said. Instead, you teamed up with the one person you knew I didn't trust. I didn't know it would go this far, but you knew it was wrong. Silence. I want to make it right, he said. I smiled bitterly. You'll get your chance, in court. I hung up, blocked the number, then added that call log to the evidence. That weekend, I had brunch with my best friend, Malia. She'd been in my corner since the day I found out. When I told her everything, the emails, the call, the court upgrades, she reached across the table and squeezed my hand. You're stronger than any of them realize. I don't feel strong, I admitted. I feel broken. That's because you're still standing. Strong people feel everything. Then they keep going anyway. That sentence stayed with me, especially as the court date approached. Especially as family started choosing sides. My cousin Jake messaged me on Instagram, said Leon told everyone I was trying to destroy the family name, that I'd gone off the rails since Mom died, that I was unstable. They always do that, don't they? When a woman fights back, she's bitter, unhinged, dangerous. Let them talk. I was preparing for war. They were preparing rumors. The court date arrived. Superior Court, downtown. The building loomed like a stone mountain. But I walked in with my head held high. Nia met me inside. She wore a navy pantsuit and carried a thick binder of every document we'd collected. Emails, bank statements, transfer receipts, voice recordings, the works. Evan was already seated at the defendant's table. He looked smaller somehow, thinner, ashamed. Leon walked in 5 minutes late. Sunglasses on indoors, gold chain over his shirt. Arrogant as ever. He nodded at me like we were equals, like we were still family. I didn't nod back. The judge, a sharp-eyed woman named Judge Whitley, entered, and everyone stood. She reviewed the filings aloud. Fraud, forgery, unauthorized wire transfers, civil conspiracy to commit financial theft. The courtroom went quiet. Leon's lawyer stood up first. He tried to spin a narrative, claimed it was all a misunderstanding between siblings. Said Leon believed the funds were a gift. Nia stood next. Her voice didn't shake once. Your Honor, the plaintiff's signature was forged. Here is the original. Here is the forgery. Here are the emails, showing they planned it weeks in advance. They called her passive. Said she wouldn't fight back. She turned slightly, met Leon's eyes. She's fighting now. The judge nodded, her expression unreadable. Evan's lawyer was next. He tried to paint Evan as a pawn. Manipulated by Leon. Misled. Emotional. I stood up before the judge could dismiss the session. I'd like to say something, I said. She studied me for a moment, then nodded. Proceed. I stepped forward. My husband and my brother didn't just steal money. They stole trust. They stole my mother's legacy. They thought I'd stay quiet, smile and let it slide. They were wrong. The courtroom was silent. I looked at Evan. Then, at Leon. This isn't just about finances. It's about dignity, boundaries, and respect. And I'm here to reclaim every piece they tried to take. Judge Whitley gave a small nod. Thank you, Ms. Durant. As I returned to my seat, I saw Evan's head drop into his hands. Leon, on the other hand, was still smirking, still convinced he'd walk out clean. But his smirk wouldn't last. Because Nia had one more card to play, and I was ready to let it burn. The second day in court began like a slow boil. The room was colder, the tension thicker, and Leon's confidence still painted across his face like a mask. But that mask was about to crack. Nia stood up the moment the judge allowed it. Your Honor, she said, we'd like to enter into evidence a newly submitted document. The clerk handed the judge a sealed folder. Inside was a signed loan application. Leon's. Dated 3 weeks before the wire transfer. Listing my inheritance account as collateral. He had claimed it as a business asset. Mine. Used without permission. Used to secure a $75,000 loan for a non-existent venture. Judge Whitley's eyes narrowed. "Mr. Durant," she said, turning to Leon, "did you knowingly submit this document to the lending institution?" Leon stood, tried to look calm. "My lawyer hasn't reviewed that yet." "Then review it now," the judge said. He leaned over the table. His attorney whispered frantically, and I watched, stone-faced, as Leon's mouth dropped open. His own signature. His own fraud. Undeniable. "Your Honor," his lawyer finally said, "we request a recess." "Denied," Judge Whitley said flatly. "This court is not here to facilitate a cover-up. You submitted a fraudulent document to a bank using someone else's funds as collateral. That's criminal fraud, in addition to civil damages." Leon finally spoke. "I didn't think she'd check," he snapped. "It wasn't supposed to go this far." His lawyer practically collapsed in his chair. That outburst was the crack Nia had been waiting for. She stood calmly. "Let the record show that Mr. Durant just admitted to intentionally using the plaintiff's funds as leverage without consent, and that he expected her not to notice or challenge it." The judge banged her gavel once, proceeding to ruling on the motion for emergency injunction and asset freeze. Within the hour, the court ordered all of Leon's personal and business accounts frozen, a forensic audit of all transfers between his and Evan's accounts, and criminal charges to be filed by the DA's office. Evan didn't speak, didn't blink. He looked like someone watching a train crash he couldn't stop. When court adjourned, I walked out first. Not fast, not dramatic, just controlled, determined. Nia caught up with me on the courthouse steps. "You did good in there," she said. Her voice was softer now. "I don't know if you realize this, Nora, but most people, they wouldn't have pushed this far." "I'm not most people," I said. "Not anymore." Back home, I collapsed onto the couch. Exhaustion hit me like a wave. I had fought for days, weeks, and still wasn't done. But I had momentum now. I had truth. And I had power. That night, my father called. I debated letting it go to voicemail, but something told me to answer. "Nora," he said, voice low. "I didn't know. About the loan, about the emails, any of it." I didn't speak. Let the silence do the talking. "I've been hard on you, expected too much, believed too many lies. I'm sorry." I closed my eyes. Let the words settle. They weren't enough, but they were a start. "Do you still talk to Leon?" I asked. "No," he said. "Not since he called me last night yelling about being set up." Dad sighed. "You didn't set him up. He set fire to his own bridge. You just stopped pretending it was still standing." I almost smiled. Almost. In the days that followed, the court froze Evan's accounts too. The audit revealed they'd withdrawn almost $18,000 in personal expenses in the first 2 weeks after the theft. New suits. Electronics. A 3-day stay at a mountain resort. No business expenses. No bakery. Just indulgence. And stupidity. The judge granted my request for full recovery of funds, plus legal fees, plus damages for emotional distress. Total judgment awarded, $262,000. Leon flipped. He called my phone from a burner number. Left a voicemail. "You've ruined me. Congratulations. You destroyed your own brother for some stupid bakery." I forwarded the message to Nia, then to Detective Morales. By the end of the week, an arrest warrant was issued for Leon. Wire fraud, identity theft, bank fraud, conspiracy. He was picked up at a gas station 2 towns over, still wearing his gold chain, still blaming everyone but himself. Evan's lawyer reached out with a proposal. A settlement, he'd agree to divorce terms, waive all claims to marital assets, avoid further court proceedings. If I dropped the criminal complaint, I rejected it. Let the system run. Let the consequences find him. Because people like Evan, they only learn when they lose, not when they bargain. I was finally free. Of him. Of Leon. Of the lies. Of the leash. And I wasn't done yet, because I was about to use the very money they tried to steal, to open the doors they swore I'd never walk through. My bakery. My name. My future. Funded by justice. I signed the lease on a quiet Wednesday morning. The space wasn't perfect. Peeling paint on the back wall, squeaky floorboards in the storage area, but it was mine. A blank canvas. An untouched beginning. Not a gift, not a compromise. Mine. The realtor handed me the keys with a smile. Congratulations, Nora. This place has been empty for 2 years. You're bringing it back to life. I ran my fingers over the key. Cool metal. Heavy. Real. The opposite of everything Leon and Evan tried to sell me. That same afternoon, I painted the back wall myself, one stroke at a time. With music playing low, sunlight pouring through the dusty windows, and the scent of lavender cleaner in the air. I didn't even realize I was crying until a teardrop hit the paint roller. Not sadness. Relief. Release. Naya called that evening with an update. Leon posted bail, she said. But the prosecution is moving forward. They're not playing games. And Evan? I asked. Still quiet. His accounts are frozen, his credit's tanked, and now he's facing tax investigations too. Karma wears heels, I said. Nia laughed. I like that. After the call, I walked to the front of the bakery. Looked out the window at the street I'd soon be part of. Shops. Neighbors. Life. I imagined the sign that would hang above the door. June's Flour and Fire. Named for my mother. And for what I'd risen from. 2 weeks later, the grand opening was set. I didn't want a huge launch, just friends, a few local vendors, and one simple ribbon to cut. The night before, Malia came by with a bottle of champagne. To freedom, she said, raising her glass. To consequences, I replied. We clinked glasses, then sat on the bakery floor eating takeout and laughing at how far things had come. At one point, she grew quiet. Do you think they'll show up? Who? I asked. You know who. I paused. They wouldn't dare. Then I added, but if they do, there's a camera system and an attorney on speed dial. The grand opening morning was bright and breezy. I wore a navy apron with my mother's handwriting embroidered on it, a line she used to write in all her recipe books. Measure with love, bake with purpose. People came. More than I expected. Locals curious about the new shop, friends bearing flowers, a few old colleagues from my pre-bakery job, and Olivia, my younger cousin, one of the few family members who hadn't taken sides. She walked in holding a bouquet of sunflowers. For courage, she said. I hugged her, tight, because some branches of the family tree are worth saving. Near the end of the day, a black SUV pulled up outside. I felt my stomach twist. Not fear, readiness. But it wasn't Leon or Evan. It was my father. He stepped out slowly, looked around like he wasn't sure if he was welcome. He walked in, hands in his pockets. The bakery was quieter by then. Malia stood near the register, watching carefully, but I waved her off. I've got this. Nora, he said softly. This is beautiful. Thank you. He looked around again, touched the edge of a counter. She would have loved this. Your mom. I know. He swallowed hard. I didn't come here to fix everything. I know I can't. He paused. But I wanted to say, I was wrong about a lot of things, especially Leon. I waited. No interruptions. No reassurance. I always thought he'd turn things around, that if we just helped enough, he'd finally get it. But he never did, and I kept asking you to carry that weight. You didn't just ask, I said quietly. You expected. He nodded, eyes damp, voice cracked. You're right, I did. There it was. Not justice. Not redemption. But accountability. He turned to leave, then stopped at the door. I hope one day you'll forgive me. I didn't answer, not because I couldn't, but because I didn't need to. Forgiveness, if it comes, won't arrive at a ribbon cutting. It comes slow, earned, like healing. After he left, I locked the door behind him, stood in the center of my bakery, and let myself feel it. Everything. The betrayal, the courtroom, the fear, the fire. And now, the peace, the pride, the proof. They tried to steal my future, tried to write my story without me, but I rewrote it. Every page. In flour, sweat, and a fire that didn't go out. Not even when they tried to burn me with it. The bakery quickly became more than just a business. It became my boundary line, my sanctuary, the physical manifestation of every no I'd never said, and the first permanent yes I gave to myself. By the second month, we were selling out of our signature honey lavender scones before noon. A food blogger posted about our cinnamon rolls. Orders doubled overnight. Customers didn't ask about my past, they just tasted the resilience in every bite. But life has a way of testing your peace, especially when you finally find it. On a gray Friday morning, I received a certified letter. Return address, county court. Inside, a legal notice. Leon was suing me for defamation. I read it twice, then laughed so hard I nearly dropped the letter into the sink. He claimed my fraud complaint damaged his business reputation and resulted in undue emotional distress. As if he hadn't done all of that himself. As if facts were slander. Mia called as soon as I emailed her the scan. "This is a scare tactic," she said. "He's trying to wear you down. Classic abuser strategy. Flip the blame. Make the victim defend herself for having the nerve to speak." "Can we shut it down?" I asked. "Already working on it. The countersuit we filed has more teeth than this joke." Still, it rattled me. Not because I feared losing, but because it showed how far Leon would go to avoid accountability, even when he was already on the hook with criminal charges. I sat on the bakery's rooftop that night, wrapped in a cardigan, sipping tea, and staring at the string lights I'd hung myself. I thought about my mother, about how she must have known this day would come. She didn't just leave me the money, she left me the courage to defend it. The following week, Leon's case was dismissed. The judge called it a frivolous and retaliatory filing. Nia forwarded the court's ruling with a smiley face emoji. Leon would now owe my legal fees for that attempt too. I wanted to celebrate, but another unexpected call came through. This time from Evan. His voice was low, tired, almost hollow. "I'm sorry," he said. "I mean it. I know it doesn't fix anything, but I wanted you to know." I didn't say anything, not for several seconds. "You knew what Leon was like," I finally said. "You knew, and you still joined him." "I thought we'd win," he admitted. "Not in court, but against you. I thought you'd let it go." That hurt, deeper than I expected. "Why?" I asked. "Why would you bet against me?" "Because I thought you were too kind, too trusting, too scared to fight." He paused. "And I was wrong about everything." I exhaled, felt the weight of years lift. "You were wrong," I said, "but thank you for admitting it." We hung up without goodbyes. Some endings don't need ceremony. Months passed, and with every day, I grew lighter. The bakery flourished. I hired 2 assistants, started mentoring young women in business programs. One day, Olivia stopped by again. She brought her baby girl, named after our grandmother, not after me, which I was grateful for. Let the child have her own name, her own story. Olivia held her daughter on her hip and looked around the shop. "Leon's in jail now," she said quietly. "Sentencing came through. 18 months. I nodded, didn't feel joy, just closure. "And Evan?" "Moved to Arizona, working at some distribution warehouse. His name's Mud around here." I sipped my coffee, let the silence stretch comfortably. "You really did it, Nora," she whispered. "They tried to erase you, and you built something instead." I looked at the humming ovens behind the counter, at the chalkboard with tomorrow's specials, at the laminated quote above the espresso machine. Burn me once, I'll bake it better. Yes, I built something, not in spite of the fire, but because of it. As Olivia left, her daughter gripped my finger, a tiny hand with surprising strength, just like mine had once been. That night, I closed up shop early, went home, lit a candle, and wrote the final page of the journal I started the day I lost everything. The last line read, "I didn't just survive betrayal. I turned it into a recipe for power." The 1-year anniversary of June's Flour and Fire came faster than I expected. 1 minute I was scrubbing flour off countertops. The next I was ordering custom cupcakes for the celebration. Word had spread across town that I'd made it, that I hadn't backed down, that I'd stood up in court, against family, against love, turned sour, and won. We held a quiet celebration, nothing big, no streamers, just warmth, loyal customers, laughter in the kitchen, and a donation box for local women's shelters. I baked my mother's favorite, rose almond madeleines, set them out on a tray with a note that read, "For the women who were told you can't, you can, and you will." Around noon, a woman I didn't know came in, mid-30s, sharp eyes, worn coat. She bought a single coffee, then lingered by the community board. "You Nora?" she asked finally. "Yes," I said, wiping my hands on my apron. She nodded slowly. "My sister's going through something similar. Husband and her brother ran a business, used her savings without asking. Now she's afraid of making noise, afraid no one will believe her." I didn't speak, just looked her in the eyes and waited. "She read about your case in the paper," the woman continued. "Said it gave her courage. I just wanted you to know that." I swallowed hard, said thank you. And after she left, I stood by the window and cried. Quietly, gratefully. Because in that moment, I realized the fight wasn't just mine. And the story wasn't just about what I lost. It was about what I reclaimed, what I protected, what I chose not to carry forward. Evan never came back, never wrote, never showed up at my door with weak apologies and excuses. Good. Leon was still serving time. Last I heard, he was trying to start a consulting group from inside prison, still chasing shortcuts, still blaming everyone else. My father came around eventually, not often, but enough. He brings scones to his card games now, tells people, "My daughter makes these, the one with the fire. Olivia's baby is walking now." And every time she toddles into my bakery, I'm reminded, legacies don't come from blood, they come from courage, from breaking the cycle, from saying no more. So if you're watching this, if someone stole your voice, your money, your worth, let me be the first to say, you can take it back. You can rewrite the ending. You don't have to be quiet. You don't have to carry shame that isn't yours. And you sure as hell don't have to protect the people who betrayed you. I learned that the hard way, but I'm here now, standing behind the counter of my own life, pouring everything I've got into each day, not for revenge anymore, but for peace, for purpose, for me. So tell me in the comments, have you ever had to walk away from family just to protect your future? What did it cost you? And what did you gain? And if this story meant something to you, subscribe, because tomorrow I'll be here again, with flour on my hands, fire in my chest, and another story to tell.